Hello, good morning. Welcome to a wonderful Wednesday. Now, most kids believe their father to be the greatest man in the world, a superhero who can do no wrong. As they grow older and wiser, they start to realize that their perfect dads are actually humans with flaws. As a kid, I felt the same about my dad, but growing up and getting to know him has actually strengthened my appreciation of him as an extraordinary man. Those few of you who may have met him will agree that my father doesn't talk much, but everything he says is important. He's funny, he's intelligent without trying, but perhaps the word that describes him the best is calm. In fact, my popino they panic for any reason. In any emergency situation, you can be certain that my old man will be the coolest dude in the room. I'm sure if Armageddon went down right now, that guy would act like he had been expecting it his whole life. It's an aspect of his character which I have always tried to emulate, and I've wondered how he pulls it off. Well, one day he explained it to me. My dad has never liked driving in Accra because of how people behave in traffic. About a few years ago, on one of the rare occasions when we came here, I remember we had just come out of the Gimpa entrance when a rickety taxi came out of nowhere, driving down the wrong side of the road and nearly smashed into us. My dad had to sharply apply the brakes to avoid a collision. To my surprise, the cab driver rather started yelling abuse at my dad. I was even more surprised to see Apopiite winding down his window. Hey, was he about to show his temper for the first time to this insolent cabbie? A part of me hoped so. But instead, he stuck his head out of the window, flashed a big smile at the insolent cab driver, gave a jolly wave and said, "Hello, what's it then?" Like he was greeting an old friend. The cab driver froze for a moment, obviously confused by my dad's reaction, and then he resumed his tirade of abuse as we drove off. After a few moments of strained silence in the car, I asked my father why he had reacted in that way to what the driver had said. He said, "Kojo, you have to understand, people are like garbage trucks. We carry a lifetime of anger, frustration, and disappointment around with us like garbage. And we are always looking for somewhere to dump it." Now, I don't know what was wrong with that driver today, but when he burst out like that, it was only because he was looking for some place to dump his frustration. If I had responded with anger, then he would have successfully dumped his garbage in my truck. I would then have gone the whole day feeling angry and frustrated, and I would certainly have taken it out on you and the rest of the family too. That was when I realized that this is what my father has been doing all of his life. He was cool and calm every day because he never let anyone dump their garbage in his truck. The lesson for me that day was that every time someone made me angry, they were actually taking advantage of me and dumping their stress and issues on me. It was up to me, not them, to make sure this didn't happen. So my dear friends, this will happen to you several times today. In fact, every day people will attempt to dump their garbage in your truck. The moment you react in anger, you know they've succeeded. So defend yourself with a kind word and a smile, and be quick to use it. Don't hesitate. Smile first, ask questions later. Because in the end, nobody has the right to dump in your truck. And the people you care about do not deserve to be on the receiving end of your bad mood. My name is Kojo Yankson. No dumping here, please. Good morning, Ghana.
Hello, good morning and welcome to the AM News. I am Apita CBD. Now, Interior Minister Ambrose Derry has announced all members of Parliament will now get personal police bodyguards as part of efforts to keep them safe following the killing of the Mfatsiman MP. He said this after a closed-door sitting with MPs where he announced 200 police personnel will be deployed to the Parliamentary Protection Unit to work for MPs. In the long term, the plan is to increase the deployment to 800 so that each MP will have a police bodyguard and 2 police security guards at home.
I want you to note that security for parliamentarians has always been the principle. Actually, from 1992, we had the Parliamentary Protection Unit of the police established here. What has remained over the years is that extent to which the security has been provided, which directly related to the situation of the security agencies over the years, capacity to do so, among others. So I want you to understand that the protection of members of parliament is part of the general national security architecture, which, first of all, is being taken care of by a number of strategies that have been put in place. Between now and the end of the year, we are going to provide additional 200 police personnel to be part of the Parliamentary Protection Unit, making it therefore attain the status of a divisional police command that would take care of members of parliament as bodyguards. But we ideally, to get to where we should get to, subsequently we should have 800 police added, so that each member of parliament will also have security at home in the day and night.
Interim Minister Ambrose Derry there. While MPs John Hughes has been speaking with are excited about the development.
My heart bleeds. My heart bleeds because I'm not a happy person at all. After Elko's demise and what happened to my own family members. But I believe time will heal the situation. And going forward, I will commend him for what he's done. But I'm still, waiting to see what turns up after this decision.
The question was posed, and then he came back to say that in the long term, their calculation will be that they would increase it, and that will be in the 8th Parliament, post the retooling and the additions by His Excellency the President in ensuring that we increase the numbers to meet the ratios. Then a fully fledged representation will get a support of to the 800 number. That is the understanding as he spoke here with us on the precinct of Parliament at the lobby, and that is how I captured his statement.
Meanwhile, security analyst Colonel retired Festus Aboje has warned police operations will be negatively impacted following the Interior Minister's decision to deploy 200 police personnel as personal bodyguards of members of Parliament. The minister announced this yesterday. Well, Colonel Aboje says the move will reduce police visibility. To other stories, Inspector General of Police James Opong-Boanu has paid a working visit to the Bono East region to inspect the operational readiness and capabilities of the region towards the 2020 general elections. As part of his itinerary, the IGP will be holding a press briefing with the media on his observations and other security-related issues. At a meeting with members of the Techiman Traditional Council, he called on the traditional authorities to be ambassadors of peace in the build-up to the December polls. Correspondent Anis Sabit has more in this report.
Today, the Inspector General of Police, Mr. James Opong-Boanu, is in the Bono East region on a working visit to assess the operational readiness and capabilities of the Ghana Police Service in the build-up to the December general elections. He will be paying a courtesy call on the Bono East Regional Minister, Mr. Kofi Amoakohene, where he will be engaging him on the RCC's readiness towards ensuring that there is peace before, during, and after the general elections.
It has been a very challenging region because it's a new thing, but I must say that your men who are leading the security here has done a marvelous job. And indeed, the logistics that you have also supported the region with, of course, we will need more. But I believe that if you help us along that line, we will provide peace in support of your administration also.
The IGP assured that enough logistics and personnel will be sent to the region to improve the security of the region.
Talking about logistics, let me say that because Bono East is a new region, whatever resources that we get, definitely our attention will be here. There's this issue about personnel. I've just been informed that 56 more personnel will be sent to, in fact, I'm sure very, very soon, within less than 2 weeks.
The IGP has been engaging the Nananum of the Techiman Traditional Council also, where he has called on the traditional authorities to be champions or ambassadors of peace before, during and after the December polls. We all know how the youth listen to the traditional authorities when you speak. Kindly let them know that violence does not help in solving problems.
Away from that, businessman Alfred Woyome has pleaded with the Supreme Court to set aside the government's purchase of some properties belonging to him. He revealed he owns land worth $15.5 million, which was far in excess of the debt he owes the state. He said this is land readily available for use in the Volta region. The Supreme Court had earlier ordered governments to buy the properties after it explained the auctioneers were having difficulty selling them. Court correspondent Joseph Akable reports Mr. Woyome represented himself.
The Supreme Court in June this year directed government to purchase the businessman's properties. This was after an auctioneer had failed to sell them. Potential buyers were reportedly said to be afraid of purchasing them because they feel these properties may be restored to Mr. Woyome in the future. Minister of National Security Albert Kandapa made this known in a letter dated March 4, 2020 and addressed to the Minister of Justice and Attorney General. The letter made reference to the Supreme Court order to have the properties sold. It will be recalled that in July 2019, after years of legal banter over the true ownership of the properties in the case involving the businessman, the Supreme Court directed the auctioning of the assets to defray the 47.2 million cedis debt he owes the state. The properties will result in recovery of about half the outstanding amount. Government is said to have since purchased the properties. Mr. Woyome, who represented himself in court, urged the Apex Court to set this aside. He insisted he had been abused for years and has always wanted to bring this parcel of land to the attention of the AG. He explained it is worth $15.5 million with a lot of potential buyers. He added that the total debt he owes the state is less than $10 million, so the state should listen to him. The panel of justices led by Chief Justice Kwesi Enin-Yeboah said the businessman had had many opportunities to sell the land. They urged him to simply sell them and pay the state what's outstanding. The panel concluded that the request by the businessman that announced the purchase is not supported by the rules of court and amounts to abuse of the court processes. The case was therefore dismissed.
Joseph Akable with that report. Now, the governing NPP has initiated what it says will be a series of engagements with commercial motorbike riders who use their vehicles to convey passengers. The policy is in sharp contrast with the opposition NDC's promise to legalize their operations. At a meeting with the party Tuesday, and the Greater Accra Okada Riders Association explained why they cannot abandon the trade. President of the association, Issa Abubakar, highlighted challenges facing their business and asked the NPP to come clear on their plan for the business and their members.
Ya from ya person ombatie dia haya ya ha onu se okada no aduma na ni ho ya okada aduma ho ya okada na aduma ho ya okada na ente ya from se ombatie yesu amon no adeba kwa haya so insurance ni ye esi ye dai pu insurance no mu fi ye.
National Youth Organizer of the governing NPP, Samia Owuku, says the party will roll out a leasing policy under the National Transport Recapitalization Program to help them purchase cars while providing other job opportunities.
NPP, if you could promises there, make it there, before cars or the school feeding, or the buy, or the health insurance, or the buy. Yeah. Or the free maternal care, or the buyer. Yeah. NBC buyer, Professor Milson John Mahama. I'm saying one-time health premium. Where do but say you almost say you almost now promise that NPPA make it say no wumpo. I sit na a woman and still making sure that I am. The NPP is promising your the national transport recapitalization policy. As you try and say, your person from 2021, NPP the leasing policy, and then you know, Obia or Yokada, Yabama an alternative, send your work and pay. And that's how betting in your car, then at least watch out for no dear, no aqua, now, yeah, Naka, Cassica bounce, Naba Odia.
Meanwhile, there have been mixed reactions to the NPP's message. We have been engaging some of the Okada riders who were there.
If Mr. Samuel Uku says that if MPP comes into power, they are going to give us cars, they are going to find other ways of getting us into work, we are very happy to hear that from him, because not that we like Okada, but the issue of unemployment is the reason why we are into the Okada business. But you know what? The extortion of the police is our problem here. So now they should start it now for us to know that they will actually do what they said they will do.
How long have you done this?
Okay, I've been in the Okada business for about 3-5 years now.
Okay, what's the level of education?
Yes, I have HND in purchasing and supply.
Okay, yes. From which technical university?
Accra Technical University. Okay. I'm from Accra Technical University. And then I do this, I am a living testimony of Okada business.
For God and man, okay? Fine. When they came and they said they will give us a car, could you imagine the more traffic that will germinate in the country? Okay, fine. But my problem is they should legalize Okada for us. Okay, it's given by law. You follow the law. Either they give us a t-shirt to wear with a number. We obey the traffic regulations. That's all. That's my headache, bro. That's my headache.
So our last story, President Akufo-Addo says his administration has corrected a discrepancy in the pension system, which left recently retired pensioners worse off. According to the pensioners who received their lump sum benefits under the new 3-tier pension regime, Act 766, the amount they were paid is much less compared with their colleagues who retired under the previous dispensation, PNDC Law 247. Speaking at the commissioning of the refurbished hall of the Trade Union Congress Tuesday morning, President Akufo-Addo said a committee is expected to be constituted to supervise the implementation of the directive in the coming days. And that's how we end AM News. I am Apisa CBD. The show continues with Mama V. Owusu Abaje.
Well, thank you. If you're just joining us, you're watching the AM show. Mapito Sibidi just read the AM news for us. If you missed it, well, don't worry. We've got the news review where we'll tell you what's making headlines in the newspapers and also tell you what's making headlines on our news portal, myjoyonline.com, and also run through some international news stories. If you look at some of the papers today, well, apart from that, if you were to go to myjoyonline.com, we will go there very shortly. You find this story about MPs getting police bodyguards, and that announcement was made yesterday in Parliament by the Interior Minister, Ambrose Derry. Joining us via Zoom for a conversation to appreciate what it is like on the continent, other parliaments in Africa, is Dr. Rashid Draman. He's Executive Director of the African Center for Parliamentary Affairs. Dr. Draman, thank you very much for joining us from Burkina Faso this morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
So, Dr. Draman, you obviously know about this issue of MPs getting bodyguards, and we are told that in the future they would also get police to be in their homes to guard them. First of all, what's your reaction to this news, obviously coming on the back of that killing of the Mfantsiman Member of Parliament?
Well, Mama, my reaction to this is that I think it is time. It is time for this. I have heard a lot of, commentary from all of us citizens. People have raised a number of objections and so on and so forth. But you have to look at sometimes our circumstances. And if you look at, the situation of MPs around the world and then on our continent, there have been examples where circumstances have led to parliaments and countries, taking similar actions like what our government is about to take. Let me just give you perhaps maybe one example on our continent and then another example outside of our continent. In the UK, during the lead up to the Brexit vote, I think that there was a lot of threat on the lives of MPs, from both sides. To the extent that at that time, the British House of Commons had to beef up the security of MPs. In Uganda, if you remember, I don't know whether you ever followed Ugandan politics. There was a time when they were voting a constitutional amendment clause to allow the current president Museveni to run for office again, and that led to a lot of tension in that country, to the extent that an MP was gunned down together with his brother. And at that time, the country decided that, look, it is time to protect members of parliament, and security was given to almost every member of parliament. In that case, in the case of Uganda, actually, already members of parliament had some form of security in the form of police protection. But the police at one point said, no, this work is too risky and we can't handle it. So they had to bring in the military to protect members of parliament. Of course, Uganda is not Ghana. Their story is different from us. But, I think that circumstances have given rise to this. And for me, I think on this occasion, I support the position of the government. I support the position of members of parliament.
So what about the larger population then? Because what they experience is what we also experience every day. There are traders who travel to different parts who are also stopped, just like in this recent situation, who are robbed. Should every citizen then also get personal police protection?
Yes, Mama V, I know that that's a very strong and valid argument. In the countries where security has been beefed up for members of parliament, it hasn't been a permanent thing. Whilst the government was doing that, they also had a plan. For instance, in Uganda, they had a 6-month plan to improve overall security in the country. So, whilst I support this, and I think that it's a good idea, first of all, it shouldn't be a permanent thing. Secondly, I think efforts have to be made to ensure the human security of all of us in the country. Yes, everybody needs protection, and I think I have made that argument in the past. But Mama, we are not all members of parliament. We voted for these people to represent us, and so the argument that we all need protection and we all have to be given police protection, is not possible. What they have to do is to ensure that the situation in the country improves. Wherever you have this heightened levels of insecurity, I think it speaks to the fact that the country is missing something. But perhaps maybe it's rising inequality, rising unemployment, and so on and so forth.
Yeah. So, Dr. Draman, just before you go, you know, it's also the speed at which the government responded to this. And in recent weeks, we've been recording many incidents on our roads, for instance, and we haven't had that kind of speedy reaction in terms of a solution to what we're facing. So there are long stretches with no lights, bad roads, which contribute to drivers slowing down in certain portions when they're traveling, and that gives way to the robbers sometimes to rob them from their own narration as they've been speaking to us. But we haven't had that kind of response. So what do you expect from the people?
Yes, indeed. I know that is a kind of response that, we all need. And you and I, all of us, our security is not guaranteed. If we don't have a kind of holistic approach to this. So I believe that whilst this is being dealt with, with the kind of speed that you just mentioned, I think citizens also deserve some kind of response to our security with the same speed. I saw the Minister of Interior flanked by the two leaders in Parliament yesterday at their press conference. Talking about this. I believe the minister should come back and also talk about how he is going to ensure our security. But I think if you look at the timing of this, we are just close to the elections and so on. We don't want our democracy to be disrupted. There's an inverse relationship between, something like this and investment, investors and our economy and so on. And I think that once we secure our economy and everything is going well, the government is able to be in a position to provide security for all of us.
Well, Dr. Draman, we'll leave it here. Thank you very much, as always, for the thoughts that you've shared.
Thank you for having me.
On issues like this, relating it to what happens elsewhere, particularly in Africa. Dr. Rashid Draman is Executive Director of the African Center for Parliamentary Affairs, ASEPA, making time and joining us with his thoughts from Burkina Faso. Akable, good morning.
Good morning, Mavi. How are you doing?
I'm good. Do you feel protected enough?
Yes and no. Yes, because God protects me. And no, because in terms of the protection that the police visibility we expect to see mostly, we don't see them around. I move around sometimes late in the night and I don't see, not many policemen I see around. And Dr. Draman makes the point that indeed your argument or the question you asked him was a valid question to ask. What happens to the general security of the population? Because sometime in 2017, the Minister of Interior, Ambrose Derry, told us then that Ghana had a police deficit of about 28,000 in order for us to meet the UN standard of 1 policeman to 500 citizens. Now that one is even just comparing numbers, because in actual sense, not all the policemen carry out ordinary police duty. So there are those who protect. Some ministers of state, they have police. In fact, some ministers of state actually have military bodyguards. I encounter some of them. You also have some policemen who are in the courtroom. Some are court warrant officers. Some are also with the judges. And so the number is actually not as good as it actually looks. Then we are now going to take around 200 again to deploy to MPs. And so Kenneth Festus Abuaji makes the point that it affects the general policing. You're not going to see police pullers around us. You have to see their response time is going to go down because you have 200 men taken away and you're not having 200 replacing them. And so those are major concerns. And then the issue about the swiftness. We've heard people being shot. There were different highway robberies over the period. And all of a sudden, this happens and within a day we get a clear roadmap.
Yeah.
I would have thought that the communication from the Minister of Interior would have first focused on the general issue of insecurity that people are complaining about. As it stands now, all what I remember from that encounter or that address he gave was the issue about the MP. So what happens to the citizenry?
Exactly.
And we've not seen a plan on how to deal with the number gap that will be experienced.
Which is also very disappointing because we thought that our MPs represent us. So what matters to us should matter to them. And they should have also raised this issue. We appreciate their concerns. They are representatives. There are privileges that they will enjoy because they are members of parliament, but they are also our representatives. They are there because of us.
Yeah.
And they should have our interests at heart. Let's look at the rest of the headlines in the papers. The Daily Graphic newspaper, lump sum differences, government to pay retirees, pensioners from January to December 2020. Pensioners from January to December 2020 are beneficiaries, so they get this sum, lump sum, paid to them. President Akufo-Addo has assured public sector workers retiring this year that the government will pay the difference in lump sum payments between beneficiaries of PNDC Law 247 and those of Act 766. He said the difference would be paid through through SNIT, and added that a committee would be set up to supervise the implementation of the decision. This is one of those issues that we would need time to talk about in detail. But let's look at the rest of the stories. Insolvent Savings and Loans Company, 6.39 billion Ghana cedis claims paid, 110 million Ghana cedis outstanding. Also, we've initiated 1,011 senior high school projects since 2017, according to the Education Minister. And today's Daily Graphic, this is Wednesday, October 14. The editor is Dr. Elsie Kaufman, the NSMQ quiz mistress. In the center spread, demand for firearms increasing, apparently, according to data from the National Commission on Small Arms and Light Weapons. There's increasing demand for firearms in the country. The data, which gives a regional breakdown of the percentage of persons who registered for firearms between January and June this year, had the Greater Accra recording the highest number of people who registered revolvers. Would you like to own a gun, Joseph?
Yes. I mean, once I go through the process, I mean, especially in this era of insecurity, and it explains why people are getting a revolvers, because they want the lighter, smaller guns that they can carry on themselves around, so that if they are in trouble, they quickly jump to their own defense and defend themselves.
It's interesting. So Greater Accra, followed by the Ashanti region, they've got 45.5% registered shotguns as against 21.5% for revolvers. So those in Accra are going for the revolvers, and those in the Ashanti region, per the breakdown, are going for the shotguns.
That's interesting.
Well, there's more to it in the center spread. On the back page, though, Maritime Hospital opens cancer units. GIJ begins gradual move to new sites. You didn't go to GIJ?
No,
you
at all.
Did you have to add that? Go ahead with the Daily Guide.
The front page of the Daily Guide says NPP sacks MP, rights to speaker. There's a photograph of Andrew Amwakwe-Siama. Bodyguards for MPs also on the front page, and widow replaces slain MP, and 2 Woyomen mansions sold. Supreme Court rejects land, also on the front page of the Daily Guide. And the back page has the story about Ghana set to construct sports university. Ronaldo gets coronavirus, also on the back page. And footballers prefer sex workers. It's coming from Nicholas Bentner. He's a former Arsenal striker. He says he's made a shocking claim that footballers using sex workers is a widespread... Why?
No, go ahead. I haven't said it. Did I say something? I was just smiling. Go ahead.
Details. No, you were laughing.
I didn't. I was just smiling.
Okay. Should I go ahead with the story?
Please do.
Okay.
Fascinating.
So, it said it's a widespread phenomenon, and some footballers use prostitutes on the night before matches. The former Arsenal striker was a controversial figure during his time in England, and he goes on to say that in his autobiography, he makes the point that this is something that the footballers do. He says high-profile footballers such as Wayne Rooney on several occasions, and more recently, Kyle Walker, have been embroiled in prostitution scandals in their careers. So he says it is a widespread phenomenon in professional football. They have only been caught red-handed with their pants down. Believe me, everyone in my industry has heard of someone who has been at it. So yeah.
And he himself has, right? That's why he's sharing the experience.
Of course.
So why don't they just take their partners with them? Or it's different?
It's totally different.
It must be like a paid-for kind of thing.
Yeah. But that story
is it for the adventure, or is just to relieve the nerves ahead of a game, or
I have no idea.
Or it's just because somebody is doing it? So
I have no idea. I would have gone for the possibility of enhancing performance in the football match, but I remember the commander's advice, and so it's very difficult to reconcile the two positions. But that's what he's saying there, and I don't know whether he was even a top striker in the sense of a top striker, and so maybe that explains it too, if you look at it in terms of the commander's advice. But I mean, that's fine. Page 3 has this story about two Woyome mansions sold.
And you know, Joseph, the issue with Woyome, the matters surrounding Woyome gets a bit complicated even for people who follow the news.
Yeah.
So I want you to just break it down. First of all, he represented himself yesterday. What does it mean?
So you have your right to counsel, and that right will only be waived by you yourself if you decide that, okay, I'm going to represent myself. So he had filed some documents in court, and he said he was trying to secure the services of a lawyer, but he couldn't get it in time. And so what happened was that the Supreme Court in June gave an order that 2 mansions belonging to him be sold to defray about 90 million of the 51.2 million cedis he owes the state. Now he is in court, filed documents to make the point that he doesn't think that that should be allowed because he has land in the Volta region worth $15.5 million. He says when you convert the debt he owes the state into dollar terms, it's just about $8 million. And so it's bare land that he wants to sell. He talked to people who want to buy it, and once he sells it, he can pay the money to the state. Now, earlier in June, when the Supreme Court gave the state the clearance to sell these mansions, the National Security couldn't sell it. And so the National Security Minister wrote to the Attorney General saying that they think the property should be acquired and handed to the National Security. So they went, the Attorney General went to the Supreme Court asking the court that they want to take over ownership. Then the court rather said that the government should instead buy the property from the auctioneer who has been asked to sell it. And so the government buys it, then the money goes into the consolidated fund, moving from the consolidated fund back into it. But just to give effect to the order that the courts gave that it should be sold. And so the government has now purchased it. Now Woyome shows up saying that he describes that insider trading because he insists that he thinks there were other buyers who could have bought it at a higher price, which will mean that he now owes more than he should owe. And that's rather, they should annul it and give him the opportunity to sell thousands of acres of land, he says, in the Volta region so that he pays the money. But the Supreme Court judges were not happy with him at all because they said to him that, look, the state has been going after your properties. They go and attach a property, someone shows up and says it belongs to him. In fact, these mansions, one of them, when they attached it, UT Bank came and claimed that they had you had used it as collateral in a loan you had taken from them, and you had defaulted, and so the property now belongs to them. The court concluded that that amounted to a sham and an attempt to deny the state recovering that particular debt. And so why do you keep doing this? And if you've had the land all this while, just go and sell it, because in fact these 2 mansions, you are still owing more. So just sell the land and pay the rest of the money. The businessman said he's been abused, he respects the Supreme Court, but he's been treated unfairly. He has not stolen any money. He just did work, and the Supreme Court said, look, this is not what we've come here to do. What we've come here to do is that you've made an application. Tell us, you are representing yourself. Under which rules of court have we filed this application? There was no response. And so the Chief Justice, who was presiding over the panel, dismissed the case he had filed, saying that it was an abuse of the court process and it's not supported by the rules of court. And so the case was dismissed.
Oh. But you know, we've seen him with many lawyers in the past.
Yeah.
Was there an explanation to why he came representing himself?
He said he was trying to get the services of a lawyer and he wasn't getting, and he had just heard that the purchase had been effected, and so he quickly filed it, hoping that he would get a lawyer to come and move it. And the judges told him that you can't. It's like a doctor-patient. He said you can't. Justice Ninyabwa said you can't diagnose a patient. Then when you are done diagnosing the patient, you take the patient to the doctor. That this is my diagnosis, treat the patient. He said no, the lawyer has to be contracted to now actually look at the matter and decide what he wants to draft. And so the eyes that should be the format.
So can he come back on this?
Unless he goes for a review where you just have 2 panel members join to decide this particular matter. But as it stands, the 2 mansions have been sold and they'll be handed over to the National Security per what we understand.
Okay. There was also another matter in court involving Kennedy Japan.
Yes.
At the Supreme Court.
Yes, it has to do with he challenging the High Court judge as jurisdiction, the judge who is hearing a contempt case. And so he's asking the Supreme Court to stop the High Court judge from hearing the case. Now, yesterday when we went to court, the justices noted that Mr. Japon's lawyers had instead of serving the registrar of the High Court, because the matter is between the judge and his lawyers and Mr. Japan. So instead of serving the registrar of the High Court, because you can't sue the judge, so you have to serve the registrar of the court. Then the registrar will inform the judicial secretary, who notifies the Attorney General, so the Attorney General can file a response on behalf of the Republic.
Okay.
Because it now becomes the Republic versus the High Court. And so he says that, okay, that's what you should have done. but instead they rather served the judicial secretary directly. And for some strange reasons, the registrar of the court was able to come up and file some documents. And so the court said, no, they want to hear from the Attorney General. Fortunately, a Deputy Attorney General, Godfrey Yabadami, was in court then. And so the court said that, look, is this a matter that you should be able to handle? So tomorrow come, just file legal arguments, and this morning we'll listen to both sides and give a decision as to whether or not the matter should go back to the High Court. Or
oh, okay, so they're going to decide today, morning. So you're back again.
Justice Poman said they shouldn't worry because they were trying to raise issues about timeline. He said, no, don't worry, just file legal arguments and come tomorrow. We'll have a response.
All right, which means you're back again in court this morning following the Kennedy Japan matter. Yeah. Very interesting. Well, real quick, just go through the paper that you have.
Yes, the Daily Dispatch, the front page says, NPP likely to lose Dadiko Topon seat, and Arthur Kennedy on senseless violence in Ghana, and suspended Kwabena Japan seen campaigning with Akufo-Addo. Has a photograph of Mr. Kwabena Japan and the president. The 4 MPs who won by less than 50 votes in 2016, also on the front page. And so that is it for the Daily Dispatch.
Okay, well, we're going to leave the rest for you to explore. Just go on to myjoyonline.com. We've got plenty of headlines there for you to take in. If you've got a reaction to the one police officer, one MP, well, you can also share your thoughts. Just go to our Facebook page. For now, this is where we leave the review. Joseph Akable, thanks a lot. We'll make way for Orekwa Mpofu, who's got sports. I guess one of the biggest headlines is Ronaldo catching COVID-19. And then we'll come back as Wednesday. So courtesy EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank, we will do AM Business, and we're focusing on employment, innovation here on the show today. Stay with us. Hello there, welcome to AM Business here on the AM Show. AM Business comes your way every Wednesday, brought to us courtesy EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank. And today we continue to talk about the impacts of COVID-19 on businesses here in our country. We know that many firms have had to cut costs by reducing staff hours, cutting wages, and in some cases, laying off workers. There's been figures put to the job losses. So 80,000 businesses have been lost and about 150,000 workers laid off. One of the many ways that professionals have talked about to get jobs back in the system and to revive the economy, if you like, is to be innovative and get technology. So today's AM Business look at exactly that. Charles Ayute has more.
Back home in Ghana, we have seen the government race against time to safeguard businesses from drowning in the seas of this pandemic. We have seen how supply chains have been cut, borders shut, and restrictions on movement so tight. We have also seen how Ghana and other countries in Africa have been left with no option but to grease the wheels of local manufacturing to meet local demand. I've come to meet the CEO of the National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Program, John Kuma. I'm interested in finding out what the government entrepreneurial and innovative plan is in these uncertain times.
The good thing is that we are not sitting down. Government in one policy or the other, rolling out one interventions or the other with the hope that it will help improve the situation and relax the risk situation of the banks, so in terms of the assessment, so that they will be able to come down on the level of interest rate. And these things won't change unless we create the enabling environment for them to do so. And I'm saying that government is on course. So far, if you look at how things have even gone so far, I mean, just about 3 years ago, we were talking about 30 to 35% interest rate. It came down to about 25% interest rate. Now we are looking around 20-21% interest rate, but the target is to come as low as maybe 10 to 15% interest rate. And I believe we'll get there if we keep the pace and show serious and consistency.
Already, the government has injected 1 billion cedis in a coronavirus alleviation program business support scheme. Kosi Yanke Aye is executive director of the MBSSI.
This fund is an emergency fund, and I keep giving this analogy. When your house is burning and someone comes, What you are looking for is, can you give me water so that we stop the fire? You don't say, please give me money to start rebuilding in the fire. And this fund is an emergency fund for us to say, can we stop the fire? Okay. And when you're saying, let's stop the fire, you put it out there and you brought it out and you've done, I think there's no intervention in Ghana that has been done on this level. And I think it's very clear, and I think we've underplayed it and really underestimated it, and I think we're looking at it in a totally different light. First of all, every district in this nation, someone applied. Every region applied. First of all, you also look at it. Ghana Statistical Services had data on what MSMEs look like. And you took that data, that gave you an analysis and gave you the numbers of what potentially the MSME landscape looked like. Then you realize, no, that's not what the landscape looks like. When you open a platform and you tell people and you give access across the nation, you realize that the numbers are different from what you're looking at, from what the world is saying and what you're seeing. Then you have another thing that comes up. You're looking at an informal sector that you've never seen before, which is bigger than we actually all think about, which is the economy. So people then say, give it to taxpayers. Which taxpayer? Because half the sector is an informal sector. Do you not give them support because they are informal? That is your mother, that is your grandmother. Those are your sisters. Those paid your school fees and made you who you are today. And you're now saying, please, where are the taxpayers? Let's give it to all the taxpayers. But you have 80% informal economy. Where do you start?
Disbursements have so far been made to businesses in all 16 regions of Ghana. The business sectors that have so far received loans include commerce and trade, dressmakers and tailors, agri and agro-processing, among many others. The plan behind this move is simple: sustain jobs in the informal sector, which accounts to over 80% of Ghana's economy. The National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Plan never came at a better time, an era when innovation is all that economies need to fight the strain of the virus.
I think this government was responsive enough to quickly empower local companies to go into production of COVID PPEs. We know that many firms in Ghana were giving contracts to produce nose masks, hand sanitizers, so many other things. And I think that even though COVID is a misfortune to the world, it was also an opportunity for those of us here in Africa to rethink on our self-reliance and how we can also live without the outside world. And I think it brought home the consciousness, and it also affirmed His Excellency the President believed that we must industrialize more, we must produce more of what we produce here, what we need here. And of course, you can't do all this without innovation. We saw young people innovating various machines for not just Veronica buckets, but automated systems for people to be able to properly wash their hands to keep themselves from the COVID.
Others might feel that our response so far when it comes to the SME sector, the entrepreneurship drive, has been a knee-jerk reaction. There hasn't been an established national innovation plan that hitherto could have soaked in the pressures of COVID-19.
Well, I disagree with that position because since 2017, His Excellency set up the National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Program, of which I'm privileged to be the CEO. And he set up a fund, not just the office, but we had a seed fund of $10 million, which we were to leverage to raise additional $100 million. So far, we have trained about 45,000 businesses across the country.
A sector untouched by the virus has been e-commerce and financial technology, also termed fintech.
The Obatampa COVID Cares program, we should be able to have a conversation with the ministry as fintech players and the central bank to see how we can position ourselves to attract some foreign investment directly into some of these fintech players in the system. Because at the end of the day, you need fintech players to do R&D, to innovate, to come up with products that can capture
people, even within the informal sector, who are out of the tax net, right?
Hi, my name is Henry Kobler. I'm a computer engineer by profession, and I run a tech company called ISO Africa. I think that the tech industry is thriving. It's becoming better off in terms of how we bring in solutions into the market. I think that from our end, we've been successful at getting across some countries and even providing these solutions to people. Looking at the numbers, it's always getting on the rise, and we're excited about it. But I think that COVID coming in sort of just gives us a bit of distraction, and I think that for us, it's also a good thing for us to look at a brighter side of what we're doing, because it opens a lot of avenues for us to explore.
The COVID-19 pandemic keeps eating jobs away. About 85,000 businesses in Ghana are still closed down due to the coronavirus pandemic. This was featured in the COVID-19 Rapid Survey Business Tracker highlights by the Ghana Statistical Service. Over 115,000 businesses have either permanently or temporarily closed down across the country. Here's government statistician Professor Samuel Kobuna Aining.
Clearly, one of the major issues that led to closures of businesses was the partial lockdown in Greater Accra and Greater Kumasi, and indeed some pockets of the central region. Once we had partial lockdown, what that meant was that businesses naturally in these areas had to close down. Indeed, they had to close down involuntarily.
The tracker also reveals that more than 45,000 workers have lost their jobs during the partial lockdown, with those in the accommodation and food sector badly hit. So far, more than 500,000 workers have also had their wages reduced.
The accommodation and food subsector recorded the highest trough in sales. So although our bars mask the effect of the accommodation and food subsector, indeed the accommodation and food subsector recorded the highest decline in sales to the tune of 57%.
Despite some respite granted businesses by government with the 600 million stimulus package, close to 131,000 businesses revealed that they still had challenges accessing finance, with over 60% calling for subsidized interest rates. Currently in Ghana, it is established that 2.1 million businesses are within the micro, small and medium-sized enterprises, which account for about 90% of businesses in the country. If done right, Ghanaian entrepreneurs in a post-COVID era must have what it takes to flex their muscle on the global market. For now, much private-public partnership is needed to keep businesses afloat. I'm Charles Aite reporting for Joy Business.
And that's AM Business here this week on the AM Show. Remember, AM Business is proudly supported by EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank. Now, let's get talking about a subject that, well, what can I say? Let me introduce it this way. So, anesthesia is a drug administered to patients before an operation to make the area of surgery numb. That's the common one that we all know. But there are stories related to anesthesia that sometimes causes anxiety to patients. If you haven't had a surgery before, well, you hear plenty stories associated with that. So as my guests, get comfortable, we want to bounce some questions off them before they tell us about their society, really, the reason they're on the show this morning. So let's get some clarification on anesthesia in terms of the drug. But before that, let me introduce my guest in the studio, Dr. Fred Osei, consultant anesthesiologist, okay, with the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, the department there. Thank you very much for joining us here on the show. Alongside him is Dr. Sandra Adams-Sala, who is a medical officer, also with the Department of Anesthesia, the University of Ghana Medical Center. That's where you are. So good morning to you both.
Good morning.
And welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay. So before you get down to tell me about your society and what you'll be observing in the next few days, I thought we will clarify something that's on all of our hearts. So here are some questions that will be on the screen shortly. I think I have about 6 questions.
I'm ready for
ask you. Okay. So let's move to the next. Let's move to the next question straight away. Can anesthesia wear off before surgery is over?
Yes, this is something that can happen, but it rarely happens. Reason being that when we are anesthetizing the patients, we are always monitoring the patient's heart rate, their blood pressure, what they call their oxygen saturation. We're watching to look and see if the patient is moving or not. These are things that can let us know whether anesthesia is working or is wearing off. But as the surgery proceeds, there are drugs that we administer to the patients that keeps the patient still sleeping. So it's very unlikely that the anesthesia will wear off before the surgery ends.
Okay.
But, yeah.
All right. Let's go to the second question, please, Patrick Gomez. And let's get the doctor to clarify. Is the risk of anesthesia less if it is a minor surgery?
Well, surgeons will define surgeries as minor or major. But for anesthesia, we treat every patient the same. We take it that this is a patient that's going to be anesthetized. We have to make sure that the patient is well put to sleep, that the patient experiences no pain, and that there are no side effects after the surgery. So depending on whether it's a minor surgery or a major surgery, the anesthesia will always be the same, because the principles are that you have to make sure that the patient is safely anesthetized and recovered after surgery.
Okay, here's question number 3. Can adverse events during surgery be attributed to overdose of anesthesia?
Oh, not really. You know, as I explained before, sometimes when surgeries are taking place, the anesthetist is always monitoring the patient. Now, some things may occur due to the results of the surgery. There may be a complication, but it's just for the anesthetist to be aware of the complication and then just manage the complication. But it's rarely due to overdose of anesthesia. You know, the anesthesia, the drugs that we're given, we monitor them very carefully, and they're given in carefully titrated doses.
Okay. Question number 4. Can spinal anesthesia cause back pain?
I'm very glad.
Especially linked to pregnant women.
I'm very glad that you asked this question. You know, it's when a patient is going to be having a spinal anesthesia, what happens is that we inject a drug called a local anesthetic, which just normally numbs your body from below your belly button, and all the area becomes numb. We do this type for patients who are going to have fibroid operations, if there's going to have a delivery of a baby. Now, we inject using a small needle. It's a very tiny needle. Now, this needle that's used is not likely to cause any pain after the surgery, like 1 week or 2 weeks, you know, but patients get a perception that because there's been an injection at the back, any pain caused is due to the needle. But I can tell you that this is very unlikely. But it's a very common complaint So usually when this happens, then we ask the patient to go and investigate and see if there are any other sources of their back pain.
Okay. Here's my final question, number 5, to you. And here it is. Should the anesthesiologist leave the operating room after the surgery begins?
Well, I don't know.
Does anyone want to take it? Okay. All right.
Okay. Should they leave? No. But most of the time, sometimes there's a case going on. Somebody has to step out for whatever reason. No matter what it is, there should be somebody monitoring you, because like he said, we monitor the person throughout the surgery. So even if the prime person who maybe past the spinal is not there, there definitely should be someone on standby who is watching you, making sure everything is okay.
Okay. All right. Now that you've answered all of my questions, I know that it's an occasion for you to tell us more about what you do. But I also want to just steal a bit of the time and ask our viewers, because I've asked these questions, I know that there are other questions that bothers people. So if there are questions that you want to ask, I'll dedicate 5 minutes of the time so you can give us a call, and I'll announce the lines shortly. So just be watching and listening to the conversation. So first of all, can you also tell me, are you doctors or are you like, how is your area of specialty like? Explain it to the ordinary person like myself.
Yes, when you started, you had a definition of anesthesia as a drug given to numb in a specific area. Okay, that's a simplified term. You know, basically, when you talk about anesthesia, you're talking about rendering a patient unconscious with loss of sensation and lack of movement for surgery, so that the surgeon can perform the surgery. This was how anesthesia initially began, but we have now moved into different fields. We're now involved in pain control. You'll see that the anesthetist is also involved in the management of critically ill patients. And then we have cardiopulmonary resuscitation, CPR. Anesthetists are also involved in the management of those kind of cases, especially if somebody has a cardiac arrest and you want to help and try and revive the patients. Now, this is where the Ghana Anesthesia Society gets involved here. So we are an umbrella group of physician anesthetists in Ghana, and we have over about 500 members. And these are all doctors who are training to become anesthesiologists.
So it's an area of specialty?
Yeah, it's an area of specialty.
Yeah.
Now, you may hear me using the terms anesthetist and anesthesiologist interchangeably, and so people get confused there. So originally, anesthetist was a person who gave anesthesia, and this was usually a doctor. But there were training of nurses also to give anesthesia. So to form the distinction, we have anesthesiologists who are doctor anesthetists. These are people who have gone through medical school, have had specific training in the area of anesthesia and perform anesthesia for complex surgeries. Yes, and they are termed physician anesthesiologists.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, great. I had one by the last question that I asked, because my anesthetist, is that it? Okay.
Yeah, well, we understand what
okay, it was by me like throughout, and she tried to have conversations with me during the surgery when the gynae was doing her thing with the nurse.
Yes.
So she was by, but I know that people don't have it like that. Not everybody experiences it like that. But are you everywhere in all the hospitals across the country? Because you say you are only 400.
Yes. So I can tell you that when anesthesia first started in Ghana, there were not many anesthetists available to practice. It's only recently that there's been more training. In fact, this is why our society is celebrating our heroes. And we have a Facebook page where we have been talking about the heroes of anesthesia, those who preceded us. Professor.
In Ghana?
Yes, in Ghana.
Okay.
Yeah, so Professor Ojo and then Professor Dorothy Fox-Crab. These were the first early anesthetists back in the 50s and 60s who trained abroad and came back to Ghana. And then they trained subsequent specialists who also came and trained people like me. And subsequently, we have Sandra here being in training too.
Yeah. So can I, just on that, can I ask Sandra how the journey's been like?
Okay. So for me, I chanced into anesthesia for my house job, my 4th rotation in house job. And it was, I just knew I was home. When I joined, everybody was so friendly, and it was a specialty I was so interested in. And I'm still in trying to train. Of course, I'm still in training, and it's more than I can imagine. It's amazing. It's always everybody's family. Everybody tries to help you, and there's so much adrenaline jumping up about it, doing things. So I love that about it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've had a. Hey, Charlie, me too. I've had, so the next question, and I don't want to personalize it. Who says I haven't had enough of the drug, or the drug is wearing off, or it's worn off? Like, is it for me, the patient, to alert you and say that I feel the pain? Because the whole idea is I shouldn't feel what you're doing. But if I begin to feel it, who listens to me?
So it depends on the type of anesthesia you're having. As I say, we have general anesthesia and then we have regional anesthesia. General anesthesia, your whole body is put to sleep. But with regional anesthesia, just a specific area. So in fact, you're there able to communicate with the anesthetist and hear what is going on. Now, as you said, sometimes it may happen that the surgery is taking longer than expected. And also, human beings are all different. A drug that was given to somebody that may last for 45 minutes or last for 1 hour, and somebody may just last for 20 minutes. You can't necessarily say
this was a dental one.
It's a dental one. Okay, so if it's a dental one, that one I can tell you, that one you had it under local anesthesia. So what is likely is that the dental surgeon would give a local anesthetic and inject it around the nerve which supplies the tooth that is going to be operated upon. Yes. So this is supposed to last for some periods, but I don't know how long the surgery took. Sometimes patients may complain that they're actually feeling the pain when they are not feeling the pain. They're just actually feeling uncomfortable. So not that the drug is worn off or anything like that. You're just feeling uncomfortable. So you're thinking that, oh, the anesthesia is going off. And then sometimes the anesthetist has to explain carefully to the patient what is going to happen. For example, for a regional, though you may not feel pain, you may actually feel them touching you. It's a kind of really odd sensation. Sometimes people say it's like getting an electric shock, sort of, because you can feel someone tickling you, but you won't feel any pain. You won't feel any pain.
Yeah.
But as I said, all human beings are different. There's some patients that the drug may be wearing off. But in the general anesthesia, we're always monitoring the patient, so it's very unlikely that this would happen.
To add to what he just said, one other thing that we would look out for is that your vital signs will always tell. If somebody is in pain, their BPs usually shoot up, their pulse will shoot up. The person tells you, I'm in pain, and you actually see it on the monitor that, yes, the person actually is in pain, no matter what you think you've given. So, yeah.
Okay. Now, back onto your day, and why, because it looks like you're deliberately making the effort for Ghanaians to pay attention to what you do. Why are you doing that, particularly this year?
Yes, so the society has been around since 1996, but we recently decided to make it more active, to make Ghanaians be aware of what anesthesia is. Now, Ghana is a country we're developing fast. We want to try to be a middle-income country. That is our goal. And if we're going to have people coming to Ghana, investors coming, they're going to want to have the very best of healthcare. So if indeed something happens that they may require surgery, we want to have an anesthesiologist that's going to be capable and a surgeon available. Now, many people don't know about anesthesia because our job is to make you forget about us. We put you to sleep, you're not going to remember, that's it. So sometimes it happens that I meet a patient, I say that, oh, I anesthetize you, and the patient will tell you that they don't remember. My job is to make you, but that's fine with me. My job is to make sure that you don't remember anything about surgery and you wake up pain-free. So that's why we are highlighting about anesthesia, and we want Ghanaians to know all about anesthesia. In fact, that's why we are calling ourselves unmasking our heroes. When people are wearing a mask, you can't really see who they are. But when you take the mask off, then you can see that this is the person behind the background who's making things work. And the surgeons really appreciate the anesthesiologist.
Yeah. Sandra, did you have many others training with you?
I started off in Kolebo, and there were so many others who were interested. In UGMC, we are fewer because we've now started, our department started not too long ago. But it's coming. The new crop of people, we seem to be more interested in anesthesia. A lot of my friends are going into that field.
Okay, does it also bring more money?
Well, we're on a GHS structure, so we're all doing the same currently. For me, it's just the passion. It's so beautiful to be in the theater, to be in the ICU. For me, that's my goal.
Yeah. Okay, also run us through the series of activities that you'll be having.
Yes. So today we're starting with media engagement. We are going with all the various media houses. Articles have been written. We also have a very active Facebook page. You can look for it. It's Ghana Anesthesia Society. That's Ghana. And we have Instagram and Twitter. So basically get Ghanaians aware. Then tomorrow in the morning, we're going to go to the various children's wards at the hospitals, 37 Kolebu Teaching Hospital, Police Hospital, and Princess Marie Hospital and Greater Accra Regional Hospital, just to visit the kids, spend some time with them, share some toffees. Then in the afternoon, we have a public lecture, which will be at Villa Boutique. It will be streamed online on our Facebook page, just talking about anesthesia, labor analgesia. It's a good and pain control. We're going to have professors from the United States of America. We're going to have a local colleague here, Dr. DeGraff Johnson. They're going to give a lecture all about anesthesia, especially in terms of pain control. And then on Friday will be our official launch of our day, where we'll have a webinar and then World Anesthesia Day celebrations.
Okay. So children, once you mention children, do they also get the same dose, or maybe not dose, but do they also go through the same, when they have their surgeries, is it the same for them too?
Yes, so children, we have a very specific area of anesthesia called pediatric anesthesia, where you're just dealing with children and they're to be anesthetized. Now, children are different from adults. You know, the sizes of their hearts, the blood pressures are different, and they have to be handled with care. And also, a child is very precious to the parents. So you get parents who are very, very anxious about the surgery. Children, they can't communicate to, especially if they're just babies. And sometimes we even operate on babies who are just 1 day old or 2 day old. they require surgery. So it has to be a very careful type of anesthesia given for these. So most of the time, what will happen is that a child is anesthetized by a very experienced anesthesiologist. In fact, in the United Kingdom and United States of America, only a consultant anesthesiologist who has had at least 5 to 10 years experience with children would anesthetize a child. Yes, because children are very, very precious, especially, yes.
Yeah, okay. Now is the time, if you've got questions for them, based on an experience or something you've heard, you want them to clarify, kindly give us a call now. 0302-211-69102, 0302-211-69102. And this is just in 5 minutes, so it has to be like now. Okay. So, you mentioned the fact that sometimes you hear that something is happening. When I had my first surgery, the CS, it felt like they were uprooting the baby. But I felt comfortable because I had my anesthetist by me. And so and she would talk me through, like, how are you feeling? What's the... So I would say it each time, and I knew I wasn't in danger, but it was my first time. It was very scary. I thought I would feel the cut, or like you feel some sensation. Yeah. It's not pain, but just having her there, helped me, and that kind of thing. But there was also somebody who didn't go through. So she wanted the vaginal birth and had gone through the phases of labor. So she was already in pain before they did the surgery. And I was told that when you do that, the pain is like double or triple. Do you recover? Is it a quicker recovery if you only did straight surgery, or if you went through that period, or that kind of... I'll let you clarify that, but there's somebody on the line now. Hello, good morning. Oh, Johnson. Hello, Johnson from Akosombo, right?
Yes, please.
Okay,
yes, please.
All right, sure. Johnson, let's hear you. You're on air.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, please.
Johnson, go ahead.
Thank you very much for enlightening us on this wonderful occupation. I just want to ask them, how does one become hello? I want to ask them that how can one become an anesthetist? Because I just have passion for that profession.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Johnson. And I see the problem. When you call us, kindly lower the volume on that television set and speak to us through the phone. Let's hear from John. Good morning, John.
Good morning, madam.
Yes, sir. Thank you for reaching out.
Yeah, I had a surgery, and after the surgery, I was breathing through the nose. I don't know what happened, because I don't know whether I was intubated or something. I don't know what. So it took me so many hours to come out.
Okay. So you're breathing through the nose?
Yes, breathing through the nose and the mouth.
Okay. Which parts of your body went numb during the operation?
Hello, again.
I was asking the parts of your body that went numb.
No. You see, I did a strangulated hernia. It was a hernia, but I was given general anesthesia.
Okay. All right. Sure. Okay, John. Is there any clarification?
Yes. So the person wants to know how you become an anesthesiologist. So a physician anesthetist is trained, has 6 years medical school training, and then 2 years internship, where they come out as a doctor. Now, when you want to specialize in anesthesia, then we have a program with the Ghana College of Physicians and Surgeons, where they'll be training for 3 years, where the person, after training in a teaching hospital, becomes a specialist anesthetist. And this is the training that Sandra will undergo.
Okay.
After that training, you can do another further 3 to 5 years, specializing in a specific area like obstetric anesthesia, intensive care medicine. We have cardiac anesthesia as well. And then you become a consultant anesthetist after that training. That's when you become a fellow of the Ghana College of Physicians and Surgeons.
Okay, great. We'll come to John's question, but I've got Nanaya from Bemakam. Good morning, Nanaya.
Good morning, Nanaya.
Nanaya, apologies there. Thanks for joining us. Let's hear you.
So, I had a surgery, and in the middle of it, I came back. I came back. So, I had someone telling me, relax, and there was an injection, and then I went off again, and I came back after the surgery. Everything was over. So what happened? Was the anesthesia low, or they couldn't just tell when the surgery, the length of the surgery before giving the anesthesia?
Okay.
I really want to know.
Okay, all right, great. Thank you. We will put the question, well, they had it, they will address it. But let me talk to Richmond. Richmond is in Adabarka. Good morning, Richmond.
Good morning, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Thank you for your call.
My question is that what will someone who has studied anesthesia be called a doctor as well? I want to find out that. And then secondly, how will someone prefer, like, be trained if you want to really be involved with pediatric anesthesia? How will it be, and then what will the training also be?
Okay. All right. Thank you, Richmond. Sandra, you're still in training, right? So please take note of all the questions. Opoko is in Kumasi. Opoko, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Yes, sir. You're on air. Let's hear you.
Yeah, my sister was going to have an operation and was given the anesthesia, as we were talking about. As soon as it was given, the doctor went out, went and spent about hours. When the doctor came back, the drug has already finished working. The doctor wanted to operate straight. My sister was saying no. She was feeling the pain. Instead of the doctor to give another, there was this misunderstanding between us and the doctor. And it wasn't easy. So I don't know, how long does the drug work on the person? If my case, the doctor left and came back, should the doctor have given another anesthesia or what? I want to know about that.
Okay. Please. All right. Great question. Okay. Thank you for sharing. Right. Eve is in Akosombo, and I think Eve will be the last call that we pick so we can address all the questions that have come through. Eve, good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you. Thanks for asking. Let's hear you.
Take their salary from the normal Ghana.
Hello, Eve. Eve, could you kindly speak up for us? We're losing you.
Okay, I would like to know if they take their salary from the normal Ghana service, like the health sector salary structures. Okay. Why I'm asking so is because a nephew had a surgery at Kolebu. We were asking a 230 Ghana to the next setting, which we have to see to that effect. So I was like, do they pay them separately from what the Ghana Health Service pay them? I just want to have a clarification on that.
Okay.
Because
all right.
we pay the anesthetists before the surgery was done.
Okay. All right. Great. Okay. It looks like we have to pick one more call. Anthony from Jai in Kwanta. Anthony, good morning. Hello, Anthony.
Good morning.
Yes, Anthony. Good morning. Let's hear you.
I'm listening to you. Thanks to the doctors for educating Ghanaians on anesthesia. And indeed, today is our day. And I want Ghanaians to appreciate what we do for them. Actually, our job is simple. We have the license to kill and wake. So we want them to appreciate.
You have the license to kill and wake?
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, so kudos to all of them. And again, it's not only doctors' line, but nurses can also be trained to become an anesthetist. Thank you.
All right, Anthony, where do you work? Where's your facility?
St. John of God Hospital, Duaya Nkwanta.
Okay. All right. Well, congratulations to you. We're honoring all of you. So happy to talk to you. Thank you for coming through.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, Sandra, let's start with your work now.
Okay. So a lot of people seem interested in finding out how you become an anesthesiologist or anesthetist. So for, like he explained previously, we have physicians and we have nurses who anesthetize people. We are dealing more with the physicians because that is what we are. For the physicians, you have to go through medical school, the same channel every other physician is. Anesthesia is a specialty. So like somebody will become a surgeon, somebody will become a physician, like internal medicine, somebody will become a pediatrician. That's the same way. You go through the 6 years of medical school, then after you graduate, you do your 2 years of house job. Here in Ghana, according to our laws, that's what you do. Then after that, you write your primaries, you come to the training in a teaching hospital. So for the first part, the membership is a 3-year program. So after the 3 years, you write an exam and you become a member if you pass through.
Okay.
Then, like, to become, like Dr. say, you have to go further. Yes, please. You have to go further. You have to do another 3 to 5 years to become a fellow of the Ghana College of Physicians and Surgeons. So we are all doctors. Somebody asked that, are we also called doctors? Yes, we are, because we are doctors. And if I could go to another hospital, let's say I'm doing my locum or something, I could give you your BP pills, I could give you your malaria treatment.
You'll be a GP,
I can do all those things, yes.
Okay.
We are doctors.
Okay, all right, great. Okay, so the next, I think we can answer Eve now, because Eve has a specific experience at Kolibu.
Which was
the paying extra.
Yes, became more and more. Yes, you know, all those experiences that people were talking about, I feel that they all had regional anesthesia. Because if you're giving general anesthesia, there's no way you would wake up or remember anything that happened. Now, so with regional anesthesia, as I said, we number an area of your body, but what happens is that sometimes some patients are very anxious. They think something is going on. So we can give you a sedative. And so this sedative will keep you nice and calm and relaxed. In fact, some people sleep. So when the patient wakes up, then they think that the drug has worn off and that the anesthesia has worn off. No, it has not happened. What has happened is that the sedative has actually worn off, and you think. But there's no way that an anesthetist would allow a surgeon to operate on you whilst you're feeling pain, because it goes contrary to all the ethics of our profession and my training.
Okay. Yes. So the person who asked, who talked about the doctor leaving and coming back later, how long do you give yourself for the drug to be effective before the operation begins?
Yes, so when we give our regional, we always check to make sure that, that the drug is working. Now, depending on the type of surgery, if it's going to be an hour-long surgery, there's specific doses of drugs that we give. But as Sandra has also explained, we are always monitoring and seeing what is going on, so we can always know what will happen. Now, I can't say that 100% we are gods, that 100% of the time a patient will be totally anesthetized. We are all human beings. We all have different characteristics. So sometimes what works for one person may not even work for another person. So if the patient had that bad experience, I apologize on the...
But when you go to complain, now that we know that there is a society, if you have an encounter like that, who do you go to? Who listens to you?
Well, we have Ghana Anesthesia Society. We have a Facebook page now. We want to try and create awareness. So patients who have experiences like this, they can contact us. We have a page on Facebook, right? We have an email address to gasghana@yahoo.com. You can email us about your experiences so that we can bring all these things to the awareness of our members. Sometimes our members are not aware of these kind of things that happen. So we're always happy to explain. As I said, we are not gods. We cannot do it all. Yes.
Okay, yeah. There was the Eve question specific was paying extra. So that's why she was asking if you also get paid from the same source as all the doctors. So is Ghana Health Service paying you so that if a patient comes, can they pay the anesthetist separately, an extra cost, or how does it work? Sandra, you want to say something?
Yes. So we are paid by the Ghana Health Service, or paid by the same structure that your hospital has. In case the person is in a private facility, and so you should technically not be paying something extra. In any hospital, especially in teaching hospital, there's a mandate that is around, and everybody knows it. Anything you pay for, take a receipt. So if you are going to give me extra money and I can't give you a receipt, then that means it's probably not right.
But I think sorry to interrupt. She was talking about Kolibu Teaching Hospital. For anesthesia, there are specific things that you have to pay for going to attending a pre-operative clinic where we check patients to make sure they're fine before surgery. And then surgery itself, the drugs that are used, equipment that is used also, and the consumables. All of these things are paid in a separate anesthesia bill. But this bill is an official bill which they will pay for and get a receipt.
Get a receipt.
Yes, so that has, as for, we are paid by the government of Ghana as members of the Ghana Health Service.
Those who work in the
So I think that's maybe what she had to pay, and she was thinking, so it's not coming directly.
It won't come into anybody's pocket.
Okay. Yeah. Sandra, I gave you a piece of work. Have we addressed all the questions that came through?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Someone asked, he was interested in how becoming an pediatric anesthesia. And
Yeah,
it's the same thing.
That's the one
you
that
go
you
through the same
I think
process.
there was a gentleman who was complaining that when he woke up, it took him some hours to recover.
He said he was breathing through his nose and his mouth.
Yes. So I think this person had general anesthesia, where we put you totally to sleep, and we keep you asleep with a gas. Then you get a tube put down your mouth into your lungs, which helps with a machine called a ventilator, will help you to breathe. And I'm sure that's what happened to this patient. At the end of surgery, we switch off the gases and take this tube out. So when you wake up, you will be very, very drowsy. Yes. And it may take you some time for the gases to wear off your system. This is something that we try and educate the patients about before we put them to sleep. So that's why the gentleman, but as in real life, we normally breathe through our noses and our mouth. Yes. So it's not anything. And patients form a full recovery. Nothing really happens.
I think there was one more person who said she got knocked out, came back out.
So I think that patient had a regional anesthesia and was given a sedative just to keep her calm and asleep. But the sedative wears off after some time. So you may wake up, and then we can give you again. So before the surgery starts, sometimes we ask the patient, do you want to sleep or you want to be awake listening? Some patients are happy for you to communicate as like what happened in your experience. Sometimes some people are like, I just want to sleep. I don't want to know anything that's going on. So we can give you a drug called midazolam, and that will put you to sleep. Okay, but the midazolam is not the anesthesia. The anesthesia is the spinal that we gave to you when you were lying down.
Okay, I asked the question of, is it double the pain if you went through labor before the surgery?
Well,
how can you quantify the pain? You felt the labor pain.
Some people will scream, others won't scream.
Yeah, but you felt the labor pain. Okay, so that is the one pain. The second pain, that is what the CS. We are trying to stop you from getting that pain. So that is our job. So we can't quantify and say, oh, this one's pain was twice or this one was more than the other. Because you may pinch me and I'll feel it and I'll be like, oh, it's just a pain. I'll pinch you and then it's all over. So we are different people.
Thank you for allowing us into your world. At least there are faces through it, which is very good. Yeah. But now that your theme is unmasking the heroes, can you just take your mask off so we can see you? If I see you in the operating theater, then I know that is you. Yeah. Okay, so thank you very much for your time here on the show. We hope that you've enjoyed this conversation. Stay with us. We're talking about the 2020 Joy News Habitat Fair, which we're doing in partnership with EcoBank. And our guest today will tell you how you can pretend that you're paying rent, like you're renting somebody's house, but eventually that house becomes yours. Even when you begin making the payment, is your own house, except that you're paying rent. And after a certain period, you can move in. And then it becomes yours. You can also be a homeowner. What is most exciting is that you don't make any bulk down payment. You're not paying any 50,000 or 30,000. It's very little. And we will tell you how you can be part of this. Just stay with us. All right, now time for us to talk about the 2020 Joy News Habitat Fair. The clinic is coming your way from the 17th to the 18th of October at the West Hills Mall from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And this year, the focus in terms of the theme is on affordable housing beyond the rhetoric. So we've always been talking about affordable housing. How does it become truly affordable? That's why this next conversation is absolutely very important. And you can interact with us and ask all the questions around this. My guest is Daniel Ohene Edu, his project manager, senior urban development consultant, and he's going to talk about the planned city extension. So good morning to you.
Good morning.
I've been singing the tune of the planned extension project because it has become familiar. The fact that you can be paying rent and then also be a homeowner. Right. So first of all, thank you for joining this year's Habitat Fair. It's good to have you on board. Explain your project to us.
Thank you very much. First of all, let me also bring you greetings from my Chief Executive, Honorable Jonathan Teduku. I'm sure he would have loved to be with me, but you know, the season has its own schedules and quite lots of activities. Planned City Extension Project, you know, comes as a result of You know, the challenges that we have due to the rapid urbanization, whether we like it or not, Ghana will continue to urbanize. In simple terms, when we talk about urbanizing, let me just bring it down. People massing up, you know, to live in particular areas. You know, when it can be planned, it can be anyhow, it can be haphazard. You can have areas that have grown on their own. Kaswa, they are not good examples. Ashaiman, Ajay Kojo, you have the beach lays, the new areas. You see a lot of challenges, you know, coming up there. And the assembly anticipated this because naturally there is a movement because Accra is choked, Accra Central area, you know, is choked. So there is a natural movement of people to live or to find places of abode, you know, in the eastern part of Accra. So then it became necessary to have that area properly planned before developments, you know, set in. Hence the Planned City Extension Project. So then the ministry said, that's a fantastic idea. Let's see how we can work around it.
Okay, so are you talking about Ministry of Works?
Ministry of Local
Development.
Yes,
Okay.
Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development. You know, then along the line, the UN Habitat also came in to give, you know, us technical support. Initially helped us in preparing the master concept plan. But, you know, over the years, this is, I'm talking about from like late 2015.
Okay.
You know, so over the years, people have slashed and sold their lands because government doesn't own lands there. They belong to families, you know. So in 2017, the chief executive said, no, wait a minute, let's take another look at it. Let's see how we can get this thing all done and started. I mean, should I call it revitalized or, you know, kick-started again. So that's when we began this rent to own, you know, developing the scheme. And it's come at the backdrop of certain research, you know, into how we should go about this thing. We had some scenarios. Are we going to wait to get donor funds? Are we going to wait for GOG? How do we go about it? Yes, and you know, a lot of the challenge. So after several stakeholders, engagement, landowners, potential investors, you know, and civil servants,
now you're ready to go.
We are very ready to go.
Okay. So what does it mean? You're asking me to rent and then I will eventually own it.
Yeah.
What's the beginning of that contracts or agreements?
Yeah, so what happens is that you would need to register with us.
Okay.
You know, you have to register with us and then make a small initial deposit.
Okay.
That's about 3,000 Ghana cedis.
3,000 Ghana cedis.
Yeah.
That's the down payment that you make.
Yeah, we don't call it down payment. If we're going to ask for down payment, then we're going to ask for some reasonable percentage.
Okay, so you call it the initial deposit.
Initial deposit.
But this is for how many bedrooms?
This is for, it's for 1 to 3 bedrooms. So irrespective of the type of house and the facilities you are looking for, you'll be doing that initial
So the least,
deposit.
I guess the least you pay is the 3,000.
The least.
Depending in terms of the initial payment.
Yes, you can, in fact, you can pay upfront.
Okay.
You can make upfront payment, you can make 20% deposit, you can make any amount. But you see, the challenge or the reason is that if we ask, one of the, you know, findings that came up, you know, throughout our interactions and research, people don't have down payments. I mean, 20% down payment, 30% down payment, you know, and you know, as a local government or as a district assembly or as a social policy kind of, there has to be some inclusiveness.
Exactly.
Right? Because the typical mortgage system has limitations. So, for instance, we're in an area, we're talking to a group, says, oh, we didn't know that you also are thinking about us. Thank you so much. You know, we thought that, you know, it's those who are in tie and suit that live in estates.
Yeah.
You know. So,
so that's why this goes with the theme that we have for this year.
Right.
Because we've always been saying affordable housing.
Yeah.
But now we say beyond the rhetoric. Beyond the rhetoric, this is a project that's down there that is absolutely affordable. So I make a down payment for the initial payment of 3,000 Ghana cedis, and then what?
Yeah, then you start making your monthly rentals.
Okay.
Immediately. So you have to pay up to 20%, and then you move into your house.
Okay, so between the 1-bedroom and the 3-bedroom that you talk about, what's the price range? Because I'm going to be making the monthly rental based on a certain price.
Okay.
Is that it?
That's
Is that the way the breakdown is?
That's right.
And how long am I paying the rent for?
Okay, so we have a threshold, maximum threshold of 25 years.
Okay.
Maximum. So you're paying between 699 Ghana cedis a month.
699 Ghana cedis a month.
A month.
Okay.
That is for a 1-bedroom house.
Okay.
Up to 1,900 Ghana cedis a month. That's for a 3-bedroom detached house.
For real?
Yes.
The figure will go up?
The figure doesn't go up. It is fixed.
Oh.
Yeah.
And it's just for the period, you know, so if I'm doing it between 15 years or 25, that's it. If it's 25, that's it, 25, I'm done.
You're done. If it's 25, if it's 25 years, so you can, depending on the payment plan, you choose. If it's 5 years, it's 1 year. If it's 10 years, it is fixed. It doesn't change.
Okay, let's talk about, we'll come and continue this, but let's talk about what kind of houses you're talking about. When you say 1 to 3 bedroom detached houses, describe the house type.
We're talking about apartments, apartments, 4-floor apartments. I don't know what.
These pictures that we're rolling out from your website.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. But
so,
they are. If you go to residential.
Patrick Gomez, my director, will take us to residential so that we can appreciate. Would it give us the house types you're talking about?
You some time.
Okay, so that's it. Which one should we click on?
Click on detached.
Detached. Okay. Yeah. All right. So as he's taking us through the houses, please continue.
Yeah. So we have the apartments. That is a 4-floor apartments. Yeah. So this is a detached.
Okay. Okay.
This is a detached house.
And this is like a
This is a
typical 3-bedroom detached?
Typical 3-bedroom, 2-bedroom, you know, house.
Okay.
The bungalow type, we call it. Yeah. But when we talk about the apartments, I'm sure as for apartments, you know, it's high rise. So you can have 2-bedroom, you can have 3-bedroom. Yeah.
Okay. So to specifically own this, how much do you have to pay?
Yeah, so depending on the site, we have the Mega Ningo site, but that site it's not up yet.
Okay.
The Pram Pram area is coming up. For those who have registered this year and up to 31st of December, we're commencing theirs.
In Pram Pram?
In Pram Pram.
Okay.
We're going to commence theirs by the end of first quarter next year.
Okay.
Yes. For Apollonia, for Shy Hills, yeah. Let me say for Pram Pram and Apollonia side, yes, we're commencing first quarter next year.
Okay.
Getting to the end of the year next year, we will commence that of Shy Hills.
Okay.
But for the lands, those who want the plots, individual plots,
We'll come to that. I want to. I'm just curious about this one.
Yes.
So if I want this at Pram Pram,
yes,
how much is it?
The total cost?
For this specific 3-bedroom detached house.
Yes. So you'll be paying like 1,900 Ghana cedis a month.
A month.
Yes.
Okay.
For 25 years.
Okay.
But if you're paying outright, you have like 15% discount.
Okay.
If you are doing, 10 years, then of course you're going to
be
a
paying
bit
more. Okay.
Yes, because your years, have
been shortened. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Great.
It is flexible and it's also interactive. I mean, that's how we have modeled this project.
Great. I like the idea. Yeah. So now let's talk about the plots, because you're just going there. If I want a plot, is it still in Pram Pram?
In Pram Pram, yes. Pram Pram, Shire Hills.
Okay. And these are registered, no litigation lands?
No. Our lands are very secure. We are very particular with that.
Okay. Is it at 70 by 100?
Our lands are 80 by 70.
80 by 70?
Yes,
okay.
80 by 70. But they're going to be fully serviced. We are not giving out any lands that, do not have services. We're not giving out lands that do not have water. By fully serviced, I mean you're going to have water, you're going to have roads, good roads, not just earth roads. You're going to have drainage.
So you're doing the thing like an estate, except that you're just apportioning.
It's a whole city.
Apportioning the lands to people.
They are cities, yes.
Okay.
So, and these lands or these plots are part of the city that is.
Okay. When I want to have the conversation with the CEO, I think he mentioned if you are in groups. So if you're an association, you can also come by. That way you actually know who your neighbors are.
Of course.
So if you're like a teacher group or a union or that kind of thing, is that still something that you're doing if people want to come in groups?
Absolutely. Because in fact, so far we have quite a good number of groups, unions, associations talking to us. In fact, we are in negotiations as we speak.
Okay.
Some of the security people and things like that.
Nice. Are the plots ready though? The service plots that you talk about?
The plots are ready, but we will not, we're going to have them serviced, fully serviced,
before you hand over.
Before we hand
How
over.
much are your plots?
If you're buying outright for now, you'll be doing like, 35,000 Ghana cedis.
That one to you spread the payment? You can opt for that?
It's 2 years.
Really?
That is 2 years. So, because if you are doing that, there are a lot of challenges when you have to do plots and you have a long time repayment. I'll just give you a classic example. You're going to have people, the developments are going to be haphazard. They're going to be at various levels. Someone would develop, another won't develop. Someone would do foundation, another would do up to gable and leave. And the whole place becomes a mess. Neighbors, a few who have been able to develop will start, fighting with reptiles, you understand? And we don't want that kind of development. We want a very uniform, it must be a place that people can be, it must be livable. So that is why we are not doing that long term.
Okay.
So for the plot is spread 2 years, but if you're paying upfront 2 years, and that is 38,000 Ghana cedis.
Okay.
The plot fully serviced.
Okay.
Fully serviced, but for outright you would do 35,000.
Okay. Okay. I like the idea. So within a certain period, everybody must have either started or completed or must be at a certain point, so that we all live there together. Not that I am living there and my neighbor isn't there.
Of course.
And the place is weedy and everything, and I can't get anybody.
Of course.
So I like this arrangement. Listen, this conversation is for you to also ask questions, even ahead of the clinic. So questions will be limited. If you want full access, no inhibitions, you have to come to the West Hills Mall this weekend. So give us a call. I'll just allow you to ask a few questions on 0302-211-69102, 0302-211-69102. And for the proper sit-down conversation, West Hills Mall this weekend, the Joy News Habitat Fair. There you have it. It's 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. So after breakfast, come with the whole family and then come and have a conversation and make sure that this year, going into next year, you have something solid on the ground. And I like this. I think we haven't had anything like this, and it excites me because this one allows people, everybody, to own something. We all want to be house owners, but we all can't pay that huge initial deposit that they ask for. And so this one is really, really cool. And that's why I want our listeners to give us a call if you've got any questionings. So this is the Plan City Extension Project. And if you were to register, because others have already registered, is there a limitation on the numbers? So if I want to be part of the Pram, even though the deadline is December this year, is there a limitation on the numbers so that if I am maybe like the 300 person, then you say, oh, it's full.
No, we do not have limitations. In fact, the lands that we have in Pram alone, we can do 10,000 units.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we do not have limitations on the numbers, except that you cannot do more than 3 properties. You cannot do more than 3 properties at a time.
Okay.
You know, the essence is to allow for a lot more people to own.
Okay.
You know,
just hold the thoughts there. Let me go to the phone lines. Good morning. Hello? Hello, good morning. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, ma'am. Good morning. What's your name, please?
I'm Lily.
Okay, Lily. Lily,
Yeah.
thank you for calling. Is there a question that you want to ask?
Yeah, I want to know the price for the 10 years. I was talking about 10 years. You are going to pay more. I want to know the price.
Okay, so let's do it this way. Which house type are you interested in?
The 3-bedroom.
The 3-bedroom.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. It looks like you have to go over in terms of the house, the costs, and the payment plan.
Okay. All right. So for a 1-bedroom, you'll be doing 699 Ghana cedis a month. 699 Ghana cedis a month. In fact, there are 2 types of the 1-bedroom.
Okay, why don't I just speak to Mavis? Apologies there, and then you can begin to answer questions. Mavis, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes,
Thank you.
Mavis.
Please, I just wanted to ask the guy. Along the way, if I manage to get, let's say, a lump sum of money, and I want to cut down the number of years I'm paying, does it come with a discount?
Okay. All right. Great question, Mavis. Thank you. Let's go to Tamale. Hello. Good morning.
Good morning, Mamavi.
Yes, small. Are you small?
Yeah, I'm small.
Okay, great. I'm big. Thank you for calling. Let's hear. Is it a question or a comment?
Yeah, it's a question.
Okay.
The deposit, the land. I heard 1,900. Was it in relation to the land?
Okay. Yes. Danny, is the land you talked about, right?
Yeah, the 1,900. No, it's for the house. And the house,
that's the monthly payments.
Yeah, that's a monthly payment.
So let's do it this way. What's your question then? What's your question with the land and the payments?
I heard 35,000.
Yes.
By my rough calculation, I was getting 47,500.
When you do the breakdown in terms of the monthly payments for the 2 years.
Yes.
Okay.
Is that correct?
So can you clarify? Because I think it will come to 38, you said.
38,000.
Okay, because he says his calculation is giving him about 40.
40,000.
Yes.
No.
Okay. All right. So he says it comes to 38.
It's 38,000. The 1,900 is a monthly payment you make for 3-bedroom house over 25 years.
Okay. Let's speak to Isaac. Isaac is in Tamale. Good morning, Isaac.
Yeah, good morning.
Yes, Isaac.
I want to ask if let's say I want to pay up
Hello, Isaac.
The size of the plot. What is the size of the plot?
80 by 70?
Is it a normal size plot or something small or something like that?
You said 80 by 70, isn't
80 by 70.
80 by 70.
It's not a small plot.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if in case I happen to buy one of the plots, is there any like, is it a must that I have to put up the building within certain period of time?
Okay. Yes. He said yes, but I'll get him to give us more details on that. So thank you for asking the question. Do we have a last call? Because I want to... Okay. All right. So can we take the last one first?
Yeah.
If he buys the plots, he has to put up the building within a certain time frame, correct?
Sure. Sure. Because you see, if you don't do that, it doesn't help other neighbors. So it's a must. If you don't develop it within a certain time frame, it will be reallocated.
What is that
your monies
time
will be
frame?
refunded to you.
What's that time frame?
Within 5 years, you
Within 5 years.
You should have fully developed it.
Okay. Otherwise, you will refund the money.
We will refund the money.
Okay.
And reallocate it.
Nice one.
Yeah.
Somebody asked if I make the arrangement, say I sign up for 10 years, right? But I get some bulk money along the line and I want to make payments. Would you give me a discount because I've paid up earlier than arranged?
Why not? Yeah, I mean,
is it in the contract? Is it in the agreement?
Oh yeah, I mean, if you see our offer letters, they are as detailed as a contract.
Okay.
You know, if you're paying outright, you're getting 15%. If you are doing like 10 years or half, you are getting like 10%.
Okay. All right.
Discount.
Okay.
So as I said, it's negotiable.
Okay, let's leave it here. If people really want to negotiate and begin to do that, they should come to West Hills Mall.
That's
so
right.
let me take 2 last calls. Munira is in Accra, and then I'll come to you, Wendell. So Munira first. Good morning. Hello.
Hello. Good morning.
Oh, good morning to you. Thank you for calling. Let's hear your question.
My question is, if I'm taking a 3-bedroom and I start, how long will I get there? Will I move into the house? Is it immediately pay the 3,000 or it takes time?
Okay, all right, great question. Hello, Wendell?
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My question is, for the house, when you pay the 3,000, that means you have to pay 1,009 for every month. Calculating for 25 years is supposed to be 47,500. So is it that when you pay the first 3,000, you move in, then you pay at the end of every month, or you will have to pay for some time before you can be able to enter the house?
Very good question. I think it's related. So Wendell from Labadi, thank you very much for your question. Munira and Wendell asking similar questions. Yeah. How long do you have to pay the rent for in addition to the down payments that you make before you move into your house?
You need to pay up to 20%. That will be somewhere around between 3 to 4 years.
Okay.
Yes, but there are those who are asking, look, they want to do it. They want theirs earlier, 12 months, 2 years. You can talk to us and that can be arranged for you.
Okay.
But at least by the time you are moving into your house, you should have paid 20%.
Okay.
And because you cannot, or most people will not be able to make
that 20% bulk payments, that's
right.
why you have to gradually pay it.
That's right.
And when you get up to the 20,
you move into the house and you continue to make payment till you're done.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Listen, there are so many other questions than me I want to ask, but I know that it's full access, no limitations at the West Hills Mall. So I'm going to leave our viewers to come and have the rest of the conversation there. Right. In the meantime, how can people reach you?
Yeah, so they can reach us on either visit the website, that's newaccra.city, or come over to the office on the campus of Central University, Miocho Pram Pram. Or may call the following lines, 05555 30300 or 0577 911101. Yeah, so any of these lines you can reach us on.
Okay, Danny, last question for my producer, my director. If I am paying, say, $699 every month, Is it going to be $699 every month for the 25 years?
Yes.
No interest? It's not going to go up?
It's not going to go up.
For real?
For real. We've worked out there are built-in safeguards.
Okay.
You know, in all of these. So
okay,
you
great.
can be rest assured.
Abla, my producer, she's still asking questions. Meanwhile, it has been answered. Go to the West Hills Mall.
And let me...
Listen, there are other things that I discovered. I'm just going to tease our viewers. If you start paying, you sign up, and along the line something happens, because you can't always predict what happens in the future. Yeah. So say you lose your job, or there is a certain accident, or God forbid, there's death. There are also arrangements for that. But I won't let him go there, because I need you to come to the West Hills Mall. So thank you very much, Danny, for your time.
Right.
Have I done a good job? I'm asking them to come to you at the West Hills Mall.
You've done a good job.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Right.
And this is part of what you would see when you come to the West Hills Mall. It's really, really exciting this year with the Joy News Habitat Fair. We thank EcoBank for partnering with us this year. And our theme is affordable housing beyond the rhetoric. So we hope that you've enjoyed this conversation. Watch out for another sponsor tomorrow, God willing, here on the show as we tell you the exciting product that will be on exhibition this first clinic at the West Hills Mall. Danny, thank you so much again.
Thank you so much, Mama P.
Stay with us. You're still watching the AM show. Mapito's got showbiz today, so stay for it.
Hello and welcome to Showbiz here on the AM Show. I am Afita CBD. Now, with 54 days to the elections, we here at the Multimedia Group are on a peace campaign to create awareness for a peaceful election come December 7. Now, we have heard from R&B singer Kamido, rapper Tulenke, VJMA Artist of the Year Kwame Eugene. Today, we hear from musician and songwriter Ochewe Kwame, and he's advising the youth not to participate in electoral violence.
Just want to tell all the macho boys, wherever you are listening to us, if a politician comes to you and gives you a machete or a gun or any violent object and tells you to use it during the elections, tell the person you want to do a selfie with him whilst you are holding it and see if they will do it. If they don't, give it back to them.